It's like, where is the mic? Where is the mic? At one point she yelled, give me a mic, and they didn't give it to her.
Prince Harry stands confidently at the podium, delivering a thoughtfully crafted address. Hello, everyone. Every gaze in the hall is fixed on him. The mood is dignified, attentive, and solemn.
And there's this guy with the purple jacket is trying to block her from going on stage.
Woof!
Suddenly, Meghan Markle steps onto the stage unannounced. No signal, no introduction, just a daring entrance that makes the audience fall silent in surprise.
And she goes around him, she even ignores him.
Wow!
She ignores the guy.
Again, I have to be careful what I say, but
Harry tenses. He glances toward her briefly, a subtle nod of recognition, yet this time he keeps a firm hold on the microphone.
Now, Harry has full control of the mic. When Meghan walked on stage, she could have said, oh, here's my wife, and hand over the microphone. Did he do it? No.
The crowd watches in shocked silence, aware they are witnessing something no royal statement will ever acknowledge. A public confrontation between the Duke and Duchess themselves.
Guy right behind Harry, the same guy that rejected to give her the mic last year, is looking at her and he doesn't care.
For years, the narrative was simple.
For years, the story was clear. Harry let Meghan take the spotlight. Every time, he stepped back so she could stand in the glow.
Pleasure to meet you, Your Majesty. Was that okay?
it's really quite sad.
But not tonight. This moment turns their dynamic on its head, and the response nothing like the applause Meghan anticipated. Not even a courteous clap, only a chilling silence, thick enough to feel like a warning.
You keep saying Meghan Markle, you know I'm Sussex now. I like working hard.
But here's the real kicker.
twist.
What happened on that
unfolded
stage
on
was
that
only
stage
the
was
beginning,
just
because the
the
story
start.
didn't end when Meghan
Because the
walked
story
off.
didn't
It detonated
stop
a
when
chain
Meghan
reaction
stepped
of
away. It
humiliation,
sparked a chain
media
of
manipulation,
embarrassment,
and whispers
media
of betrayal
games,
that followed
and
them
murmurs of
long
betrayal
after the
that
lights dim
lingered
about the
long
fallout
after
behind
the
closed
lights went
doors.
out.
Stay with me,
And
because
if
what
you
comes
thought that
next
crowd
isn't just
silence was
awkward. It's the
harsh,
clearest
wait
sign
until
yet
you
that
hear
Harry
what
and Meghan's
insiders
carefully
are
crafted
revealing about
facade
the
is beginning to
aftermath
crack
behind
wide
closed
open.
Insiders are revealing to me the true story of how Meghan Markle failed.
Do you think Harry's decision not to hand Meghan the mic was his way of finally drawing a line? Share your thoughts below. Prince Harry was delivering a carefully rehearsed speech, calm voice, composed stance, every word measured. Then, without warning, Meghan Markle made her move. She stepped onto the stage unannounced, striding toward him with a confidence that demanded attention. But instead of admiration, the room froze in confusion. For a split second, even Harry seemed taken aback, his eyes narrowing as he registered what was unfolding. Meghan placed a hand gently on his back, a familiar cue that once meant he would instantly surrender the microphone. But not tonight. His hand tightened, his shoulders squared, and he kept talking. That subtle act, small enough to miss unless you were really watching, landed like a bolt of electricity. It wasn't just resistance, it was a quiet but unmistakable turning point in their balance of power.
And she's going around causing trouble, looking for a mic. Where is the mic? With that absolutely manic smile on her face.
Right there, under the glare of the cameras, the energy in the room shifted in an instant. What should have been a seamless, united moment suddenly turned tense, like witnessing an unspoken argument play out in front of everyone. Meghan forced a smile, her hand resting just a moment too long, making it clear she wasn't ready to retreat. But Harry's gaze stayed locked on the audience, his composure unbroken. In that brief exchange, everything felt different. The balance had shifted, and everyone could feel it. There was no applause, no polite claps, no murmurs of support, not even a nervous laugh. Instead, the room froze in total silence. Meghan stood beside Harry, her smile unwavering, waiting for the recognition she assumed would come. Seconds stretched into what felt like minutes. With every passing moment, the tension thickened, the kind of silence that echoed louder than any boos ever could. Harry continued his speech, voice calm and deliberate, as if refusing to acknowledge the discomfort playing out beside him. Meghan, however, lingered in the spotlight, visibly waiting for something, a nod, a cheer, any sign of approval. But nothing came.
See, there's Harry telling her to back off. You see his hand here, below his big face, pointing at her, telling her to stay back.
The audience wasn't hostile. It was worse, they were indifferent. And in the royal world, indifference is the cruelest kind of rejection. With nothing to cling to, Meghan shifted her stance, cast a quick glance at Harry, and slowly began to retreat toward the edge of the stage. The distance wasn't far, but it felt endless. Each step away from the podium looked like surrender, a quiet admission that the crowd had chosen its side, and it wasn't hers. Those in the room later described the atmosphere as ice cold, the kind of tension where everyone senses something has gone terribly wrong, yet no one dares to move. Meghan's exit hadn't been part of the plan, and everyone could tell. But the silence that followed wasn't closure. It was only the beginning of the fallout. By the next morning, that painfully awkward moment had vanished from the mainstream narrative. Major outlets avoided showing the unedited footage. Instead, glossy stills emerged Meghan smiling with poise, Harry beside her, the picture of harmony. To anyone watching from the outside, it looked like business as usual. The tension was erased, the discomfort rewritten. What the cameras truly captured had been carefully cut away, replaced by polished imagery crafted to reshape the story.
It is absolutely disgusting, this woman, in my very humble opinion, and that people are still not getting it. It's beyond the pale.
Social media, however, told a very different story. Clips began circulating online, capturing the unfiltered moment Meghan stepping forward, the crowd freezing, Harry refusing to hand over the microphone. Within hours, those short videos spread like wildfire, racking up millions of views. The contrast was impossible to miss. Official outlets showed unity, while the raw footage exposed tension. Critics accused the press of protecting Meghan's image, shielding her from what could have been a major PR disaster. Supporters countered that the silence was overstated, a simple misunderstanding of body language. But the truth was clear. Two realities now existed. One crafted for television, the other blazing across social feeds. And that split didn't happen by accident. Royal coverage has always been carefully managed. But this time the edits didn't just smooth the story, they flipped it completely. That raised a bigger question. If this moment was rewritten, how many others have been hidden from sight? The deeper you look, the clearer it becomes. This wasn't just about one speech, it was about control. So what do you think? Did the media crop out Meghan's awkward moment to protect her image, or to conceal the truth? Share your thoughts below. Because what happened on that stage wasn't just an uncomfortable exchange, it was a glimpse into a much deeper rift.
Here's what I would say about that. I think it's very important to shift this idea that play the opposite and make sure you can be taken seriously. My point in all of this is that no matter what you look like, you should be taken seriously.
For years, Harry was seen as the man who bent over backward to protect Meghan, always stepping aside so she could shine. But in that moment, he drew a line right there, in front of thousands, and it spoke volumes. That quiet act of defiance hinted at something bigger: resistance. It wasn't just about a microphone. It was about a shift in power not only within their marriage, but in how the world now views them. Harry's royal status adds another layer of complexity. Officially, he's been stripped of certain titles and duties. Yet, at major international events, he's still introduced as Prince Harry, with the same reverence given to working royals. Those mixed messages create a strange kind of limbo. He's neither fully in nor fully out. And beside him, Meghan can sometimes appear like an outsider still fighting to reclaim relevance. Of course, that uncertainty may not be accidental. Insiders suggest Buckingham Palace keeps Harry's position deliberately vague, offering recognition when useful and pulling it back when it's not. It keeps the intrigue alive, ensures headlines keep coming, and guarantees that the Sussexes remain part of the royal conversation, whether they want to or not. The onstage moment only amplified that tension. Harry's subtle pushback against Meghan raised questions the palace didn't have to voice aloud. Is Harry beginning to choose loyalty to the crown over his wife, or is he simply done being eclipsed?
Again, I have to be careful what I say, but that I won't be able to show, my children my homeland.
Either way, the cracks are no longer hidden. Behind the polished photos and measured smiles, the real battles aren't about speeches or microphones, they're about family. Sources close to the couple say Harry is determined for his children to experience pieces of the tradition he once knew. He's reportedly spoken about Eton, the prestigious British school attended by generations of royals, picturing Archie walking the same halls he once did. For Harry, it's not merely education, it's heritage, a living link to the world he left behind. Meghan, however, seems to have no desire to return their children to the UK. She prefers raising them in California, far from the constraints of royal life. But the disagreement runs deeper than location. Insiders claim Meghan has shut down talks of British schooling altogether, unless, as one source put it, certain conditions are met, whether financial, security-related, or otherwise. To some, it looks less like compromise and more like control. This tug-of-war has come to define their relationship. In private matters, Meghan appears to hold the stronger hand, guiding the family's path with unwavering conviction. Harry, once willing to follow her lead, is now showing signs of resistance. Friends describe him as quietly frustrated, torn between a yearning for his roots and the limits set by Meghan's firm stance. The irony is sharp. Their children have become symbols in a larger struggle between heritage and freedom, duty and independence, loyalty and rebellion.
Harry and Meghan specifically told media at the time of Archie's birth that they didn't want to give him a title.
What?
Because they wanted him to live a life as normal as possible. Cut to Oprah Winfrey interview where Meghan sits down and accuses the palace of not giving her son a title because of his skin color. That was so damaging for the royal family at the time.
But apparently for me, that doesn't matter.
And while the audience only witnessed a brief clash over a microphone, those close to the couple insist the real power struggle played out far from the cameras. If Meghan's sudden move onto the stage was bold, what came next was quietly brutal. Event organizers made a subtle but unmistakable adjustment. Meghan was kept out of the spotlight for the remainder of the evening. Instead of standing front and center as usual, she was guided to a side seat visible, yet deliberately distant, a silent reminder that she was no longer leading the moment. It wasn't announced, but the message was clear. Her role had been reduced. From there, the optics only deteriorated. Observers noticed that her designer gown, intended to captivate, looked oddly ill-fitted under the harsh lighting. Online, viewers remarked on her strained smile and tense expression. While Harry mingled comfortably with guests, Meghan remained seated, applauding at the expected moments, but rarely approached or engaged. For someone accustomed to commanding attention, the quiet distance from both the crowd and the organizers felt like a public humiliation disguised as formality. Critics pounced on every visible detail. The forced laughter, the rigid posture, even the way her jewelry caught the camera, evoking echoes of past glamour rather than genuine confidence. Supporters brushed it off as a simple oversight, but those in attendance knew better. None of it was accidental. The change was understated, but its impact was undeniable. A subtle, calculated shift that cut deeper than any words could.
I truly believe that when he met Meghan, she whispered into his ear, a 36-year-old mature woman whispered into his ear, "Harry, you and I could change the world."
For the first time, Meghan wasn't merely overlooked, she was deliberately sidelined. And as the evening unfolded, it became clear the audience had no interest in helping her reclaim control. But the palace, as always, had a plan of its own. While Meghan dealt with the sting of exclusion, the institution moved to reshape the story. Within hours, contradictory headlines began to surface. Some outlets portrayed Harry as the dignified prince, still treated with royal decorum. Others emphasized his status as a man stripped of privilege, distanced from the crown. That inconsistency wasn't carelessness, it was calculated. By keeping Harry standing deliberately unclear, the palace sustains a cycle of speculation. Every public appearance becomes a question mark. Will he be addressed with honor or treated as an outsider? That uncertainty fuels debate, dominates coverage, and ensures the Sussexes stay relevant to royal discourse whether the family invites it or not. In this delicate balancing act, Meghan becomes both an asset and a liability. She draws global attention and guarantees engagement, yet her polarizing image turns every minor stumble into front-page news. Critics argue that Buckingham Palace has refined its approach after past controversies. Rather than banishing the Sussexes entirely, the institution keeps them suspended in a gray zone close enough to captivate, but far enough to contain. It's a familiar playbook. The same tactic once used with Sarah Ferguson, not fully inside the fold, yet never completely cut loose.
Harry came from this very busy world of the royal family with lots to do. Even in his spare time, he could play polo and do whatever he wanted. He sat in Montecito, twiddling his thumbs, thinking, what do I do next? What is my role? Where is my work?
It means every appearance is dissected, every rumor magnified. For Harry, it's a prison built on uncertainty, trapped between the world he left behind and the one that never fully accepted him. Together, they're stuck in a cycle where the institution and the media feed off their turmoil, while their public image erodes piece by piece. But the fallout from that onstage clash didn't just bruise their reputations, it pushed their already fragile dynamic into uncharted, dangerous territory. What began as a routine speech quickly transformed into a defining moment. Meghan stepping onto that stage wasn't merely unexpected, it was revealing. The frozen crowd, Harry's quiet refusal to hand over the microphone, and the media's decision to bury the raw footage all pointed to something far deeper, the fractures that were never meant to be seen. If this is how tense and exposed things become in public, one can only imagine what's happening behind palace walls. And make no mistake, the story is far from over. The next chapter is even more startling. Because if you thought this was dramatic, wait until you uncover Meghan's hidden family. Twist the revelation that, according to insiders, left Harry completely stunned. It ties directly to everything you've just witnessed, and trust me, you'll want to know every detail.